What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a look at Nami. Nami is out and legal now. It's in OP-11. OP-11 is out in Japan. It's legal for play in Japan, and that means we've got some winning decks coming through. And I'm not going to sit here and say Nami is hands down the best deck in the metagame. I'm not sure that that's true, although I do think the potential for this leader is absolutely off the charts, and it could be. But I am telling you, I'm starting to see a bunch of deck lists filtering through. It really is Nami and Luffy. They are the OP-11 decks that I am seeing popping through here. They're the ones that I'm seeing the deck list coming through and winning on a pretty regular basis. But I want to start talking about Nami because I think this deck has redonkulous potential. Shout out, by the way, to Shumja Yu, whose deck list I am using here. And on Twitter, you can find him at S_JIAYU. There we go. So starting off then with the leader, we've got a dual color blue and yellow. And on your turn, once per turn, when a card is removed from life, either yours or your opponent's, and you've got 7 or fewer cards in hand, you may draw a card. We've then got Don X1. When your opponent attacks once per turn, you can trash a card from your hand, and then your leader gets a 2k bump for the turn. That is absolutely absurd. So in terms of characters, we start off with one of my favorites from OP-11. It's Carrot. I love Carrot, and my daughter loves Carrot, and this is adorable artwork. Love that this is seeing play. But we've got on play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back on the top or bottom of your deck in any order you like. We've then got when attacking, or when your opponent attacks, I should say, then you may trash this character and your leader gets an extra 1,000 power. So you're giving your leader a 1k bump, bearing in mind the leader gets itself a 2k bump, and you can rearrange the top 3 cards of your deck, which, let's just say later on, when we're looking through this deck list, you're going to see this coming back. The other one, because we see, is the Charlotte Flampe from EBO1, which has always seen a ridiculous amount of play since it came out. Firstly, it's got counter plus 2k, which is great. But then, on play, you can put a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand and then draw a card. It's just card draw. It's as simple as that. Really good card draw, plus counter plus 2k. Add that together, you are happy. Over in 2 cost, we've got ourselves the new Zeus, which is again counter plus 2k. And on play, you can add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand to KO an opponent's character with a cost of 5 or less. Again, it's just some classic removal coming in here. But then you've also got counter plus 2k. Plus, you've got yourself some card advantage from picking up a life. You've got to be careful not to take too many life, but, you know, taking the odd one here or there, you will be fine. Add that all together, we are good. And then we also get to play the Nojiko from OP-03. We're going back a little way here, but that is a blue card that specifically works with a Nami leader. Well, it was obviously designed for the OP-03 Nami, but this is a part blue Nami leader. We are good. And what Nojiko does here is, on play, if your leader is Nami, you get to bump a 5 cost or less of your opponent's characters back to their hand. Clearly brilliant. Clearly fantastic removal. It's kind of overpowered, but limited specifically to Nami decks, which is how it ends up being kept slightly in check. But you're playing a Nami deck, so you're absolutely fine here. This sounds good to me. Over in 3 cost, it's a yellow deck. We're playing Captain Capone Beige. Like, the yellow decks are playing Capone Beige, all right? That's just what they do. Again, we got counter plus 2k, which is obviously fantastic. We've got a bunch of that in this deck. And then we've got that redonkulous trigger, whereby when it comes out as a trigger, one of your opponent's characters or leader cannot attack for the turn. It's one of the best triggers in the entire game. It comes out as a trigger, turns off one of your opponent's characters. Absolutely redonkulously good. There is a reason why it's a staple in not every yellow deck, but a lot of yellow decks. Now we have one 4-cost coming in this deck, and it is the Charlotte Pudding from OP-06. Makes your opponent put their hand into their deck and then draw 5 cards. Anytime you think your opponent's got a hand that you'd rather they didn't have, the hand's too big, you know, they've searched out a bunch of cards which are going to help them, whatever it might be, don't worry, Charlotte Pudding will come out here and essentially wreck their hand for you, which is very nice. That's a pretty handy bonus. We've got ourselves the new super rare Nami from OP-11. And this one again is just a ridiculous card. Firstly, it's a blocker. And we're going to need some blockers here or there, right? Everyone needs some blockers sometime. But also, on play, if your leader is multicolor, draw 3, and then put 2 cards from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck in any order. Very important here, you draw first and then return the cards. It means you got the most information when you're returning the cards. That's a very big thing. So, yeah. Doesn't actually work in OP-03 Nami because that's mono blue. Here, we've got multicolor. We've got Nami. This is working beautifully. Love this. Absolutely love it. One of my favorite cards from OP-11, frankly. We've also got ourselves Charlotte Katakuri. Specifically here, we are talking about the Charlotte Katakuri that came around in Starter Deck 20. It's another blocker, but then we got an activate main once per turn. You may turn the top card of your life face up to give your leader or one of your characters a Rested Don. Obviously, remember these skills don't work if your top card of your life is already face up, but we got a decently big 6k here, and it lets you attach Rested Don while also being a blocker. Add that all up together, and we've got a very, very useful character indeed. Now, being a blue deck means we get to play Jozu here, and this is the one from OP-08. On play, you can return one of your characters other than this to your hand, and then return a 6-cost or lower to the original owner's hand. But the great thing about this is you've got a bunch of stuff that you could just reuse here. Stuff like Nojiko, for instance, or stuff like Carrot that have got those nice on-play skills, but then once they're sitting on the board, they're a bit too weak to really do anything. Well, great news. Jozu will then bump this back to your hand so that you can reuse them later, while also bumping an opponent's character back that they very much do not want you to put back into their hand. Add that all up. This works very, very nicely indeed. And then we get to the big characters, and this is a deck that is playing a bunch of different big characters. Lots of counter plus 2k, we've got a few blockers in here. We get to the point where we can get to the big characters, and we've got some beauties here. Like the Starter Deck 7 Charlotte Linlin. On play, your opponent either has to trash one of their life, or let you put a card from the top of your deck onto your life. Either way, you are ending up one life ahead, which is good, and essentially your opponent's put in an awkward situation where, sure, they get the choice, but they'd really rather do neither of them. But they're not allowed. We've got the Charlotte Katakuri, the secret rare from OP-03. Again, a card which has just always been good. Ever since OP-03 came out and we got this is a card that's seen a huge amount of play. Because on play, you put a character of a cost of 8 or less on the top or bottom of its owner's life face up. Either you get rid of a character that you don't want from your opponent, or you put one of your characters on top of your life. Either way, this is a very, very useful card indeed. We've got the Captain Eustace Kid here, the one from OP-10. On play, you can rest it to trash a card from the top of your opponent's life. Yeah, that's good. And at the end of your turn, if your opponent's got 2 or fewer life, you draw 1, discard 1. So basically, when you play it, you get to trash one of your opponent's life. That alone is a win. But then you also get extra draw at the end of every turn until your opponent removes this card. Yeah, this card is a little bit busted good. We've got the new Luffy from OP-11, the secret rare that just came out in this brand new set. Firstly, we've got Rush. So you've got an 8-cost 8k with Rush. That's going to do some damage. Then you've got when attacking, you may trash a card from your hand. to return a character of a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand, and then give a rested Don to your leader or one of your characters. So basically we've got Rush, and we've got removal, and we've got giving rested Don, and you add all of that up together and you end up with a very strong character indeed. And yeah, it's no surprise that we're going to see more of this, right? This is going to be a card which sees a lot more play moving forward. This is just the opening salvo. Oh, and then obviously we've got 4 copies of the Secret Rare Sanji. Have to play the Secret Rare Sanji here, because the Secret Rare Sanji is on play, reveal the top card of your deck, and as long as it is a 9 cost or less other than Sanji, play it. But I just showed you a bunch of big 7 and 8 cost characters, which are really good, and you can play them for free using Sanji here. Now, what you really need to make the most of this is to make sure that you've got one of them on top of your deck before you actually play Sanji. That's where Carrot comes in. Play Carrot, make sure you got the right card on top of your deck, play Sanji, and Carrot and Sanji together are 10 Don, so you can do that in one turn. And then all of a sudden, you play Sanji, you got a 9k down, and then you've got a second character as well. This is redonkulous. This is going to be the combo that wins you a bunch of games. There's a reason why you're playing a full 4 copies of Sanji here. Get to the place where you're allowed to play Sanji. Stuff gets good. And then we finish off with a few event cards, all of which are played as 2-ofs. So we've got You're the One That Should Disappear. It's a counter whereby you trash a card from your hand to get a 3k bump. But also as a trigger, if you got no life, you put the top card of your deck on top of your life and then trash a card from your hand. Great card. Sees a ridiculous amount of play in yellow because it recovers life. Why would it not? Sanji's Pilaf is just a draw 2, or as a trigger, you draw 2. It's a draw engine. We're used to seeing this played in Nami decks, although admittedly, you know, the other Nami deck, still great draw power. And then Gum Gum Red Rock is a 6 cost that puts any character to the bottom of the owner's deck, or as a trigger puts a 4 cost or less. But still, 6 cost to get rid of any character, or get rid of a slightly weaker character on a trigger. However you slice it, this is a good card. You can see why it's seeing a bunch of play. Here's a list as a whole with one more shout out to Shumja Yu. I love this deck. I think this deck is brilliant. And I think we're going to see more of this coming in. I think we're going to see more Nami, more of these cards, more of the new Luffy, more Carrot. It's just, this seems like a very strong deck. It's a little bit top heavy and you need to get to the point where you can play Sanji. But when you get there, ladies and gentlemen, things get good. So there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me how excited you are. Tell me if you think Nami's going to be great. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.